Hello, I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about nursing school and the process of getting in. Not really the process, just about the HESI entrance exam, the HESI 2A, which is what my nursing school required us to take. I took the test yesterday and I passed it. It was my first time, so I wanted to come and give a little bit of tips and questions and stuff while the information was fresh. So for my school, you have to take three of the sections for the exam. You have to take math, reading comprehension, and chemistry. I had not taken chemistry before I took the exam. I'm taking it this semester, but I took the exam like within the first month of me taking my chemistry class. So that was the main section I was worried about because I had no experience in chemistry after high school. The book that I used to study was the HESI Admissions Assessment Exam Review. I'm sure you guys have seen this. I got the idea to study from it from videos on YouTube that I was watching because this is, Evolve is also the proctor for the exam at the school that I take. So I was like, might as well get the book that the testing company made. It was great. I really think that all that you need to study is in the book, but it's not like just straight word for word out of the book. So just because you read the chapter over and over doesn't mean that you're going to understand what it's teaching you. I took chemistry first because it was what I was less confident about. I suggest whatever you are the least confident of your section to take that first, because then you have the most time and you won't feel rushed and you're not already mentally exhausted going into something that you're not super confident. It was 30 questions. There were some that I just didn't know, certain things like certain charges and stuff that you would need to know, like balancing and stuff for, and I did not completely understand balancing going into the exam. I had watched some videos about it on YouTube, but it just didn't stick with me. Most of the questions I got were questions straight, like that went over in the chapter of the book. So if you understand the chapter, if you understand the basics of the periodic table, which is another thing I use to study the different types of elements and the different charges and stuff like that, I think that you'll be okay. I suggest just getting this book. I took the practice test. I also took all the practice tests that I could on the internet. Every practice test that was available to me, I took. And I think that really helped because there are questions that aren't in this book that you can get on the internet. And I also went through Quizlet and went through a lot of the flashcards and stuff that they have on there. And I think if you do that, then you'll be okay. The next section that I took was reading because I didn't want to be mentally exhausted going into reading and do that last. The reading was different than a lot of the reading practice tests I took. The passages are not long like they were in all the practice tests. They were short passages, and some of the questions were really straightforward. They were asking you information that was in the passage, so that was easy. But a lot of the struggle that I had in the reading section was deciphering what certain intents were or what the certain ideas were in the passage, because really there's no way for you to study for that. There's no way for you to practice it. You just read it and pick the question or pick the answer that makes the most sense to you, because none of the questions don't make any sense. They are all kind of in the same realm. You just have to pick the one that makes the most sense. So I got like an 86 in reading and like an 86 in chemistry. I took the math last. I don't want to say I underestimated the math. I thought that I would do better than I did because a lot of videos that I was watching, people were like, oh, I didn't even study for the math and I got a 92. That wasn't me. I studied for the math. I got a lot of proportion questions. I got a lot of mixed numbers and fraction questions, percentages, decimals, which I knew how to do. There was a few on there that I did not know how to do, which was weird because I felt like I studied everything. So I was like, this kind of came out of nowhere. But I did pretty well. I got an 86. So I got an 86 in the entire exam. I got an 86 on every section. At first I thought something was wrong with the computer. I was like, how am I getting the same score on everything? But I did. And I was just happy that I passed. My school only requires a 75, so I was well over what they required, and I was happy about that. I didn't get any Roman numeral questions on my math, and I studied that a lot, but you know, whatever. I only got one military time question, which is fine because I already know military time. I was in the military. For me, the best way to study for military time is just switch the time on your phone to military time, because then you get used to seeing it all the time. And at first you're not used to it, so you'll look at the clock, look at your phone, and you won't know what time it is, so you'll look at another clock, and then you get used to matching the numbers. If you do that like a month before, you'll know military time before you get there. The proportions are easy. There was a lot of conversions, and a lot of fractions and mixed numbers. The book explains fractions the most complicated way to me. I learned fractions by watching videos on YouTube of how to add and subtract, multiply and divide fractions and mixed numbers. So that was huge. I got a lot of questions about that on my test, and a lot of proportions, a lot of conversions. I used the gallon man. I suggest like just draw it out when you get there on your scrap paper. My school, you're given a little like mini basic calculator that you can use on any question, so that's really nice. So I didn't waste my time studying how to do long division or multiply decimals because I have a calculator, so I'm not going to waste my time studying things that I don't need. Then I was going to say something about the other questions that I got, but I can't remember. That's really it. Just, oh, if you do get Roman numerals on your exam, because I took a lot of practice tests that had Roman numerals, and just studying what each letter means is not enough to understand Roman numerals, because knowing what each letter is great, but applying them is different, because it comes like it's like adding and subtracting based on where the letter is in the Roman numeral. So I think the best way is to just I looked up a lot of common dates. That way I would know what the trends were, how different dates looked, knowing what 1500, 1700, 1900. And then once you kind of get used to how that looks, the smaller numbers are easy. That's all. I used all the allotted time that was given to me. They gave you earplugs, which was great. I needed those because some people were like asking questions or talking to the proctor and stuff, and I get distracted easily. It took me the whole amount of time, but I think if you just study the book, study the periodic table, really just for the periodic table, I would say just study the major elements, like know noble gases, know the halogens. I got a lot of questions about nonmetals and different types of bonds and stuff, but if you go through Quizlet, it's similar to the kind of questions that you're going to get on there. So I have notes. If you are interested in any of those, I can scan them and email to people, anybody that feels like they're taking the chemistry exam and don't know what they're doing, because I felt the same way. If you just leave a comment, I can get those notes to you. So good luck.